Weight Stigma Awareness Week 2019 and the genius that is Madalin Giorgetta.
You gotta be so good that they can't ignore you, especially the ones that ain't done shit for you. Yeah, you know exactly what I mean. They stab you in the back and then they ask why you're bleeding. I don't trust words, I trust actions. I don't care what you heard, I'm not slacking.
My name is Alan Roberts. This is Every Damn Day Fitness. Like, subscribe, click the notification bar over there. Share my video, subscribe to my second channel, Alan Roberts, in my opinion. Of course, click the button both the end. Thank you very much. So, Weight Stigma Awareness Week 2019 was this past week. Who knew, right? Because they just made that shit up, I think. I really do. I think that it was just made up. Now, I do find it funny that every weight stigma awareness post that, I got tagged in or whatever was talking about morbid obesity, people that are morbidly obese, when in fact, there is weight stigma involved with weight all across the board, and for some reason we left all that out because it doesn't suit the agenda, I guess. For instance, an extremely thin person, there's weight stigma based around their weight too, because they are assumed to have a mental disorder or have anorexia or be poor or those sorts of things, and that is not always the case either, so we shouldn't judge that. But that's not talked about during Weight Stigma Awareness Week because that's not actual weight stigma, apparently. People assume by my body composition and my structure many things about me. They absolutely do. It's just human nature. They just absolutely do. And they shouldn't assume things about how people look, but they do. People assume morbidly obese people are lazy, and they shouldn't assume that. I know many morbidly obese people who are highly motivated individuals who take care of their families very, very well, who are highly motivated when it comes to business. I know people that own multiple businesses that are a couple hundred pounds overweight. They assume that the person is depressed. That's not always the case. There is some degree of hormonal depression when it comes with being morbidly obese, just how it throws your hormones off, because adipose tissue does create is more estrogenic and everything like that. But you shouldn't assume those things about people. That is stigma, and that is bullshit. And a lot of times people use those stigmas to make fun of people, and that is fat shaming. That does actually happen, and those people are fucking assholes. When you try to take something that you think a person is going to be self-conscious about, and you use that to have humor, to make fun of them for your own humor, for your expense, that is fat shaming. You're a fucking asshole, and you shouldn't be paid attention to. And for those of you out there that have experienced that, which I'm sure every morbidly obese person has experienced, some fucking asshole making fun of you for your weight, that just shows a lot more about that person than it shows about you. However, don't listen to these people talking about how weight stigma is also involving facts, because the fact is that if you are 200 pounds overweight, say you're 5'3" and weigh 350 pounds, or can't walk in heels.
No, that's not nice.
Say that you are 200 pounds overweight. The fact is you are putting more pressure on your knees, ankles, joints, hips, lower back than it was designed to do if you're carrying 200 pounds overweight. If you have skin folds, the fact is that you need to wash in between those much more frequently, because you can get yeast infections, you can get other infections, you can get skin infections that cause necrotizing fasciitis, which is like a flesh-eating bacteria. That's a fact. That is not stigma. That's a fact. If you have skin folds, wash between them. It is very important for your health. It is a fact that if you ingest too much processed sugar, you are putting yourself at a much higher risk for diabetes. That is a fact. It is a fact that obesity is scientifically linked to 13 different types of cancers, to be more prevalent to getting those cancers than smoking. That is a fact. Those are not stigma. Facts cannot be stigma because they're facts. They're just real. It doesn't matter how they're said, who says them, anything like that. A fact is a fact. It is just true. So please, if you are morbidly obese out there, if you are a morbidly obese person and you are sick of being made fun of, I understand, and you should be. That is bullshit. However, do not ignore facts based around your health. I've recently seen this post by Madalin Giorgetta. Genius, by the way. She's a genius. Genius, and I do fucking kid. But the post reads like this. So we are going to talk about this chart by Madalin Giorgetta that she used, and it's obviously a weight stigma chart, and we're going to talk about the left side as you're viewing it, the left side first, and then we'll talk about the right side, which is healthcare services, second. But first is stress. Weight stigma causes stress, and that stress leads to eating and physical activity behaviors. Binge eating, increased caloric consumption, disordered eating, lower motivation for exercise, less physical activity. I'm going to say that those are all rather large assumptions, because I know people that get stressed out, even morbidly obese people that get stressed out, and all they do is work, and all they do is grind. I know this by many, many, many many morbidly obese people. So this is actually an assumption. That is actually a weight stigma all in itself. You people are fucking ridiculous. Just want to point that out. Physiological reactivity is increased levels of cortisol. That is absolutely true. And that is any stress. And I'm going to get to that in just one second. C-reactive protein, A1C, and elevated blood pressure. And those are all things that are caused by increased levels of stress. And I wanted to point out one thing to most of the members of the fat acceptance community that talk about weight stigma, because most of the most popular members of the fat acceptance community, if you read through their posts, they all end up pushing some sort of clothing, some sort of makeup, some sort of something like that. At some point in time, most of the females, the more popular females, including Madalin Giorgetta, who talk about weight stigma, all end up pushing some sort of clothing. Have any of you ever seen a teenage girl who cannot get her hands on, or cannot afford, who feels they don't look good in the clothing that somebody that they look up to is wearing and telling them they should wear? Whenever somebody tells their audience, you should wear this clothing because I love it, and that young person, especially a young teenage girl, cannot afford, get their hands on, or somehow wear the clothing you are talking about, do you have any idea the type of stress you're causing that young person? That is the fucking truth. So let's not act like this is actually done to try to better people. This is just a talking point, because I am going to point out very clearly that the vast majority of the people, and this is my opinion of fucking course, the vast majority of the people that are the upper echelon tier of the fat acceptance community, that are the most outspoken, the people that really, really, really are pounding that in, like weight stigma and fat phobia and blah, 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 are all trying to get you to buy their shit. They're all trying to make sure that that they get sponsored by people, that people support their brands and everything like that. If they are doing that, they are causing people stress all in itself, all in a different way, and that can raise their cortisol levels, raise their A1C, raise all sorts of other issues, also cause them to binge eat, also cause them to do stuff like that. So the second that these people talk about how, like the fat acceptance activists, the top tier fat acceptance activists, the second that they talk about buy this clothing, I love how I look in this dress is by this person, I'm wearing this makeup, the second that they do that, they are applying stress and pressure to their audience. That is not necessary for them to get the message across that they should just love themselves for themselves. That is them adding stress to people that they claim to try to be taking stress off of. And I find that hypocritical as fuck. It then goes on to show that the eating and physical activity behaviors, that of binge eating, increased caloric consumption, disordered eating, lower motivation for exercise, less physical activity, again, all stresses that can be caused by not being able to buy the dress that Tess Holliday told you should wear, all lead to weight gain. However, I'm going to point out that increased cortisol levels also can lead to weight gain, but for some reason, since we don't know what the fuck we're talking about, apparently when it comes to making this chart, we didn't put that, the weight gain after that. Now, here's the fucked up thing that I don't think Madalin even realized, because I don't think she understands what the fuck she posted. I really don't. However, the weight gain then has arrows that go to psychological health distress and physiological health distresses. So I'm just going to point out that Madalin posted a chart that states that weight gain leads to depression, anxiety, low self-esteem, poor body image, substance abuse, and suicidality, and also poor glycemic control, less effective chronic disease self-management, more advanced and poorly controlled chronic diseases, and lower health-related quality of life. So hilariously enough, on many levels, because there's several things that are about this that are very, very funny when you look into it, Madalin Giorgetta posted a chart talking about the dangers of weight stigma, showing that weight gain is bad for you physically and mentally. It's comedy that writes itself. I am just narrating the idiotic moments that this woman's having. That's it. That's all. If you look back into the comment, like the actual post of where this chart came from, quote, I don't think fat shaming is very nice, but we can't glorify obesity, can we? And there's the asterisk in obesity. I'll get to that in a second. And number two, quote, I think fat shaming is fine because it may motivate individuals to adopt healthy behaviors, end quote. Now, real quick, for those of you that asterisk out the B or a letter in obesity, sometimes in life you have to see things you don't like. Sometimes in life you have to experience things that you don't like. This is important for life. It is an important learning tool, one, because then you learn how to cope with shit. But two, if you never experience anything negative in your life, you'll never be able to appreciate positive shit, ever. So people, like, sometimes you just have to, like, grin and bear it, and, like, it's a medical term. If you can't look at medical terms, you have greater issues that you should seek counseling for. You should not be on social media, and you should not be listening to somebody that, like Madalin Giorgetta, in my opinion, of course. You just absolutely shouldn't. If you can't look at the word obesity without it upsetting you, you have got to get some counseling. Like, go now. Turn this video off and go now, because the problem is not the word. The problem is you. If you can't stand to even see a word or hear a word said, The issue is you. Like, you need the help with coping skills and stuff like that. Otherwise, life is going to get very, very bad for you. Because again, sometimes you need the negative things in life to know what positive things are. But two, you got to be able to cope with stuff. It's to the point where you can't read a word. I implore you to seek help. But back to her post. To my mind, there's never any excuse for fat shaming. We should treat all people with respect, compassion, and care. And crazy enough, I agree with Madalin Giorgetta on something. It's holy shit. But I also agree fat shaming, like trying to make people feel bad for their weight, does not actually help. But I also think that compassion and care for somebody that's morbidly obese is giving them the information to know that, hey, you are putting yourselves in danger. Here's how. And also giving the information on how to help get themselves to a healthy lifestyle. That is compassion and care. Lying to people by telling them they're okay when they're morbidly obese, or lying to people as she's about to do here, is really, really not compassion and care. The post goes on. 1, first and foremost, it is okay to be fat. And 2, the implication of these comments is that fat equals unhealthy, but higher weight doesn't cause poor health. There isn't evidence of causation, only a correlation between higher BMIs and less favorable outcomes for some health conditions. So the genius known as Madalin Giorgetta should probably elaborate on which one is actually true. That fat is not unhealthy, that it is okay to be fat, or the chart that she showed to try to look all scientific-y, that gaining weight does lead to emotional and physical distress. I find it just the lack of effort to actually get a point across is kind of disgusting. The lack of effort put in by these people is ridiculous, because when you can argue against your fucking self, when you can discredit your own chart in your own comment within a space of like a quarter of an inch on Instagram, that's pretty sad. That means no research was done at all. That means no thought was really put into it. That means let's get a flashy chart and let me write a whole big book to try to make sure that people think that I look like I don't know what I'm talking about when I obviously don't. There's a comment in there that's hilarious, by the way. The comment reads, obesity isn't a bad word. It is a real medical issue that is killing people. And I'm going to add that 40,000 people last month died of obesity. If we continue to skirt around it, we will all experience losing someone to obesity and the other diseases it can bring about and exacerbate. Word it however you'd like, but an extremely unhealthy BMI is dangerous. Our focus must shift to educating people on healthy practices for longevity and day-to-day overall wellness. Madalin, the genius, responded, it's proven here that warning people about the dangers, which is a form of weight stigma that fat people experience, is not helpful and is in fact detrimental to their health. As health professionals, we should be focusing on encouraging healthy behaviors. We don't need to focus on spreading fear. The hilarity about that comment has made it so I've had to reshoot this thing 7 times. Reshoot this portion of this 7 times. So this is the 7th take. I'm going to try not to laugh. First, nothing's proven. You're arguing with yourself. Like, your chart totally refutes your comment. Your chart states that gaining weight is bad for you emotionally and physically. That's what your chart states very clearly. It states that very, very, very clearly. And your comment is arguing with that. I don't know how. And calling herself a health professional is where I've been losing it. She's not a health professional. She's absolutely not. I don't even think she's a fitness professional. I refuse to consider her one. I refuse to consider her a peer of mine, because she does not look like she's actually fit in my mind. She looks like she's what we would consider, this is not a derogatory term or to be mean to her, she looks like she's skinny fat. She looks like she has a decently high percentage of body fat for her weight and a low musculature for her weight. She does not look like she's an athlete or works out more than what you see on Instagram. I think that she films on Instagram, and the second that she's done filming, she stops working out. She does not look like she works out that much to me. She really doesn't. She looks like she meticulously watches what she eats to not gain weight. Meticulously watches what she recently did this whole diet culture detox and kept eating kind of the same food she was eating. Just salads and shit, I find it hilarious. I really do. Madalin, I tell you what, if you think there's nothing wrong with being fat or anything like that, I challenge you to gain 100 pounds. Talk to me then. I really do. Because I've been obese, so I can tell you it's not fun, right? This woman has no reference, none at all. She's trying to sell people shit. That's it, in my opinion, of course. Going back to the chart, by the way, I wanted to touch on the healthcare professional thing. It says that weight stigma leads to healthcare services with poor treatment adherence, less trust of health providers, avoidance of follow-up care, delay in preventative health screenings, and poor communication. You want to know one of the highest reasons why people don't trust their healthcare providers? Why obese people don't trust their healthcare providers? Because a lot of the fat activist community, the fat acceptance community, talk about not trusting your healthcare provider. Talk that they shouldn't weigh you. Talk that they shouldn't do this. Talk that they shouldn't do that. That is a problem. What they should be saying, and I mean this, if you're morbidly obese and you go to your doctor and you don't think that they've paid enough attention to you or they didn't take you seriously enough, go get a second opinion because you're morbidly obese. The chances that you are having some sort of physiological issue with your joints or with your heart or with your liver or with your blood sugar is very high. That's statistical fact. It is factual. It is just fact. The chances of you having or developing some sort of disorder is very serious. You should at least go to get your joints checked out because you putting 200 pounds of extra pressure on your joints is unhealthy every time you step because gravity, because there's fucking gravity. So if you avoid going to a doctor because you think that they didn't pay attention to you, go get a second opinion because if you are, say you're undiagnosed as diabetic, say you're all of a sudden really, really thirsty, you don't know why, and you're really lethargic, and you don't know why, and all of a sudden you are diabetic, you don't even know it, and you stub your toe, a month later they could be cutting your foot off because you didn't go to a doctor because some fat activist told you not to trust your fucking doctor. That's the problem. These people think that they're helping. They're absolutely not. Pandering to people and telling them that they're okay when they are physically not, when it is shown factually that they are not, that is detrimental. That is weight stigma. That weight stigma, to me, is when you treat somebody with such kid gloves thinking that they're just going to shatter and they can't handle the truth, that it negatively affects a bunch of people and possibly causes death. That's weight stigma to me. And that's just my 2 cents in the matter. My name's Alan Roberts. Hit me up on Instagram at Everydamnday Fitness. Hit me up on Twitter at Everyday Fit. I'm also on Facebook at Everydamday Fitness. And I'm on the internet at everydamdayfitness.net. At some point in time, maybe you motherfuckers should think you're causing more damage than good. God damn.